How does this GT77 stack up versus the competition? Well, the most unique features of this laptop is the 144 hertz 4K mini LED display. Without a doubt, it is excellent, superb gaming display for any kind of casual gamer out there. You know, you want the most detailed visual image possible. This is the only laptop that I know of, except for maybe, I guess, the Razer Blade 16 also has a 4K 120 hertz mini LED display. That's the only other 4K competitive mini LED display that I know of off the top of my head. But typically speaking, most people with average eyesight probably won't be able to tell much of a visual difference, especially with moving images. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and you look at it in detail, yeah, you can see the increased resolution for sure, especially in like slower paced titles where you're really like looking at people's like the characters and the armors and all that stuff. And you're like, it's not moving very fast. Like that's really when you're going to see more of the resolution improvement than typical fast-paced gameplay. Typical fast-paced gameplay, I think the sweet spot for performance and FPS and price is more QHD or QHD plus resolutions. So typically, for most fast-paced gamers, this isn't really the best display, but if you're more casual or you just really want a bright display, colorful display, this is excellent. And I did disassemble and test the display on this laptop already earlier in a previous live stream. It's not too hard to take apart. It's not easy either, but you can take it apart. You can upgrade 4 SODIMM slots in it. You got 3 M.2 SSD slots in it. And the display was reaching, I believe, over 800 nits brightness in my Spider 5 Elite test, and a very high contrast ratio because of the mini LED aspect of it. The ports on this laptop are equal to the best you can buy this year, pretty much. The Alienware M18, I think, has like one more USB port or something. But other than that, this is the best ports available laptop out there. This has Windows Hello. This has a fingerprint sensor on it. The only laptop, aside from some super portable laptops, that has a fingerprint sensor this year that I can think of off the top of my head. The mechanical keyboard is superb for typing. It feels great. It has a great shunk with the Cherry MX keys on it. The right side number pad is a bit scrunched. You can see it here. It's a little bit more scrunched than your normal typical number pad, which is kind of the downside, I think, of this keyboard layout. And I think one way that MSI can easily improve their laptops, their big 17-inch or larger laptops really should have a different keyboard layout than their 15-inch more portable laptops, because this has the same keyboard layout as the MSI Pulse 15, for example. But this is obviously a much better keyboard because it's a mechanical one, and per key RGB backlighting is very good. So very bright, very vibrant, and you do have excellent customization, and you also have a rear light bar on here that, especially in a darker environment, looks awesome and is very vibrant and bright. Also, MSI light up logo here on the back. Very stiff, high quality metal build in general, with a little bit of flex in the middle. I think they could add another rubber support leg here and there, and that would really help improve the flex of the chassis. Fan noise testing, we did 59 decibels in max fans, 55.5, I think, or 56 decibels in extreme performance auto fan mode. Balanced mode was like 55 decibels, or was it 54? I have to double check. Balanced mode was even quieter, I think 52, 53 or something. And then silent mode was just very, very quiet, like 43 decibels with a 42.5 decibel bass. Speakers on this has excellent boomy bass to it, but the mids and highs could be more clear. And I think the overall volume also could be a bit louder. Those are the areas in which the Blade 18 beats this GT77. For Cinebench R23, MSI has, I think, messed up the BIOS on it. They've limited the CPU power when the NVIDIA GPU is active. Even in NVIDIA only mode, the Intel CPU can only reach 120 watts max power. And every other high-end laptop can at least do 130 watts, including the Blade 18, which is like a thinner chassis than this, and much more portable. So I think that the GT77 should be able to go to at least 145 watts when under dual load, or like at least when the NVIDIA GPU is active. Honestly, they should be able to use software to limit how much power goes to the CPU. Like if the NVIDIA GPU has a load of like say more than 50 watts, then they should limit the Intel CPU from pulling more than 150 or 120 or whatever. In CPU only workloads though, it sucks having to restart the machine into integrated GPU only mode in order to get the full CPU performance. Now, when you go to the full CPU performance, you're getting great performance. We did like over 30,000 in Cinebench R23 with everything stock. If you follow my undervolting and overclocking guides with the MSI GT77, you can get like 32 to 34,000, maybe even 35,000 if you have a good silicon lottery in Cinebench R23 through undervolting, which essentially overclocks and makes the laptop run more power efficiently. So yeah. Now, if you do GPU undervolting and overclocking, I think that you're going to see nice temperature gains and nice temperature gains, especially if you're doing like say balanced mode. You could probably get this thing to run at 2250 on the core clock with 155 watts power draw would be my guess. That'd probably be around the sweet spot to have really good temps on the CPU and GPU, while not having too loud of fans. So that's probably what I would target if I was using this laptop and wanting to do long term, especially if I was gaming over speakers. And this thing can game over speakers really well. If you run this thing in silent mode, you're going to still get good CPU, GPU performance, and the fans are going to be very quiet. Obviously, the performance will be much more limited. Probably the best balance of CPU and GPU performance is probably going to be balanced mode with an undervolted GPU and undervolted CPU, and that'll probably be your best blend of overall performance, fan noise, and everything. But of course you could go down to the silent mode if you're very noise sensitive as well and still have high levels of performance because this thing has so much cooling in it. The fans don't really have to run too high to still have a good amount of air pushing through the system. Now, in terms of performance levels, we were able to get playable, excellent 4K performance in every single game, but it's not like how you say, like the competitive games, I would still go to lower settings, either low settings or maybe even lower resolution if you really want to be like, bam, 144 FPS for a 1% low, or just maximize your aiming ability. And in that scenario, it's totally fine to drop this to QHD. And eventually, maybe certain games you will have to drop down to QHD. And it's nice to know that the display still looks good at QHD resolution. It's barely noticeable when you drop to QHD resolution. The big drawback about if you had to do that, or if you want to play esports games, is that this display at 144 hertz is just not as advantageous as having a 240 hertz response rate or a 360 hertz response rate, or if you're an extreme esports gamer, going all the way to the 480 hertz response rate that the Alienware M18 has, or the X16. The Alienware laptops can basically go to 480. So if you're an extreme esports gamer and you want the best esports gaming laptop, this is probably not it unless you're going to use an external monitor. Especially true because this response rate on this display has just a little bit of ghosting when you're moving very fast. And that just makes it, again, not an ideal esports gaming laptop, but still very good for casual gamers out there. Even if you're doing some more fast-paced gaming, it still doesn't feel bad to play it, but I wouldn't want to be a competitive, highly competitive player and use this laptop simply because you're basically buying yourself into a very expensive laptop that has a slight disadvantage versus the competition, because almost all of the other laptops in the premium laptop space has a 240 hertz QHD display. Okay. Did I talk about everything? I think so. I mean, if you're after a 4K gaming experience, ultra premium everything, You can get this tricked out with a 4090 and the i9 for around 4,300, 4,400 plus tax. And I think it's 4,299 plus tax, which turns out to about 4,600 total. If you're interested in buying this unit that I'm holding here that we tested today, let Ahmed know, like I said, in the comments down below. There's a link to the spreadsheet. That's it for this laptop review.